So I will only briefly summarize. So the 2 weeks back we did 47th anuccheda we started. It's a long anuccheda. The first part we covered. So in the 47th anuccheda, Jiva Goswami, after having established that Bhagavan's forms are not material, in this anuccheda, he starts discussing that other features related to Bhagavan, how they are also not material. And he quotes the Gajendra's prayer, Na vidyate yasya cha janma karma va, nanama rupe gunadosha eva va, tatapi loka paya sambhavaya swamayaya tan yanukalam richati. 1 second. So in this shloka, Gajendra says that Bhagavan has no birth, no action, no form, no virtues. But for the purpose of creating and destroying this material world, he accepts these perpetually. Anukalam richati. Swamayaya, by his internal potency. Bhagavan has no name, form, qualities, activities, but he accepts them perpetually by his internal potency for the purpose of creation and destruction. So we discussed, Yoga Goswami discussed that Vikara means the transformation, means any change of state. The first transformation is Janma. And then Karma means when a person is feeling incomplete, and to feel complete, whatever activity they perform, that is called as a Karma. And a Nama means whatever we perceive with our mind and senses in order to indicate that object, the Shabda which we use, that is called as a Nama. And Rupa means the color which we perceive with our eyes. And then Guna means all the objects which are made of Sattva Guna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna. So all those objects, they have each object we have a maybe particular specific characteristic. There's a particular specific characteristics which gives eminence to that particular object. So that specific characteristic is called as a Guna. And they all arise from Sattva, Raja and Tamoguna. And then Jiva Goswami says that how Janma, Karma, Rupa, Guna, they don't exist in the Supreme Lord. Because Bhagavan is always situated in his own nature, and because he is imperceptible even by the mind, and is self-luminous and beyond material nature, birth, name, qualities, etc. don't exist in him. But still he accepts them. Still he accepts them. To that Bhagavan I offer my obeisances. And there are several statements in the Shrutis which deny characteristics in Bhagavan, how the Bhagavan absolute truth is undivided, inert, and peaceful, and he cannot be perceived with the senses, etc. And there are also other verses in the scriptures which say that how he performs all actions, he possesses all desires, and he has all fragrance and taste. There are other verses which talk about that. So how do we reconcile them? That's what Yoga Goswami is trying to do that here. He says that the conventional defects, they definitely do not exist in the Supreme Lord. And guna, material gunas, they are also considered defects in the transcendental Lord. And because Bhagavan is having Aishwarya, he is called as Viruddhartha. That means one who has contradictory qualities. And this is mentioned in the Kurma Purana. But although opposing qualities exist in him, one should never assume that he has defects. And the Upanishads also state that how the Bhagavan is Apahata Papma, he is free from all sin. He is free from old age. He is free from death. Chandogya Upanishad says that the absolute truth is said to be the goal of all attractive things, because all attractive objects proceed towards him. And he is certainly the most attractive. He is the bestower of the fruit of all virtuous acts. And then Jiva Goswami quoted other verses. He said that when it is mentioned that Bhagavan accepts, although Bhagavan has no name, form, qualities, etc., that means he has no material name, he has no material form, he has no material qualities. But at the same time, he accepts them. He accepts these things. He accepts them for the purpose of creation and destruction. Because he accepts them, one may think that Bhagavan's birth and activities are temporary because he accepts them. But that we'll discuss in more detail today. But because he accepts them, one may think that they are temporary or they are material, but they are not like that. Bhagavan's name, form, qualities are all spiritual. And Krishna accepts them by his internal potency. So in this verse, the word Swa Mayaya, it refers to the internal potency of Krishna. Then Jiva Goswami discusses the various meanings of the word Maya from various dictionaries. But and then he says that in this verse, the word Maya cannot refer to the material energy. It can only refer to the internal energy. Because that there are great devotees like Shukadeva Goswami, who are Atma Ramas. They take pleasure in Bhagavan's birth, activities, etc. If these are enacted by the material energy of the Lord, how can the great Atma Ramas, liberated souls, take pleasure in them? Therefore, they cannot be material. These birth activities, etc., they are enacted by the spiritual energy of the Lord. So these things we discuss.
Prabhuji, yeah, before we go further, I just want to ask you this: when Gargacharya gave the name to Krishna, and that time, I think Prabhupada writes in the purport that the name is a transcendental and it's not material. So, this name, form, quality is now what we are discussing. Is it in line with that same person, or is it to be reconciled again?
What is the Gargacharya? The names are all transcendental.
No, when he gave the name to Krishna, he quotes many things that you are in that yuga, Sweta Yuga, I mean Treta Yuga, you were some other different colors. And Prabhupada in that purport is that Krishna's name is given as a Krishna, but it's not. It's not a material name. It's a transcendental name. So
yeah, that is the subject actually. That is the subject of the anuccheda. That Krishna's name. Previously, we discussed that Krishna's forms are not material. But in this anuccheda, he is discussing that the other features of Bhagavan, Krishna's name, qualities, activities, they are also not material. That is why the word Swamayaya is important. Swamayaya. That means by his internal potency, Krishna is actually Krishna appears in this world. His name is also under the internal potency of the Lord. His activities are also under the internal potency of the Lord. So that is the subject of this anuccheda.
Yeah. Okay.
And Prabhuji, last time you discussed about these words also, Richati and Anukalam.
Yeah, Richati and Anukalam.
Yeah,
so he accepts them eternally. Actually, he accepts them eternally. That will be discussed in the second part of the Sanucheda in more detail. So, for in the common parlance, the word Sat is used to indicate objects that have names and forms. And the Brahman, which certainly existed before the creation, is said to be Asat in the Shastras. But one may think that that means the Brahman does not have any name, any form, because because Asat means it is opposite to Sat. So Sat means Sat is used to refer to that which has name, form, qualities, and Brahman is called as Asat. So that means that he does not have any name, form, qualities. But we have to understand Brahman is called as Asat because he does not have material name, material form, material qualities. Just like I mentioned, suppose the Italian says that there is no food in Govardhan. There is no food in Govardhan. Does it mean that everyone in Govardhan are starving? No, what he means is that there is no Italian food in Govardhan. Similarly, when the Upanishads say that Bhagavan is Asat, he has no name, he has no form, he has no qualities. That means he has no material name, material qualities, material this thing, material activities. So these points we discussed, and so when the Lord of the cosmos is said in the scriptures to be devoid of qualities, nirguna, it means he has no profane material qualities. This is a verse from the Padma Purana. And then we also discussed how the different meanings of the word Maya. And in this verse, the word Maya refers to the internal energy. So we'll go to the next part of this anuccheda. So here we have to start from Nanu Katam. Nanu Katam Janma Karmanor Nityatvam. So Jiva Goswami says that Nanu Katam Janma Karmanor Nityatvam. He's raising a question. How can you say that the Janma and Karma of Krishna are Nitya? How can you say that they are actually eternal? Tehi Kriye. So both are actually Kriya. Taking birth is an action, and karma is another action. And any action means it will have a beginning and an end. Since both are actually kriyas, janma and karma, therefore, how can they be eternal? Because it will have a beginning and an end. Kriyatvam cha prati nija amsha nija amsha api aramba परिसमाप्तिभ्याम एव सिद्ध्यति इति te vina swaswarupa hanyapatihi. So both are actions, and every action consists of various parts, each having a beginning and an end. Otherwise, it cannot be designated as an action. Any action means it begins at a particular point in time and then it ends. Otherwise, it cannot be called as an action. Because janma and karma both are actions, it will have a beginning and end. So how can you say that Krishna's birth and Krishna's activities are eternal? So Jiva Goswami answers, Naisha doshaha. This is not an issue. There is no fault in this. Shri Bhagavati Sati, Shri Bhagavati Sad Yeva Akara Anantyat, Prakasha Anantyat, Janma Karma Lakshana Leelan Leela Anantyat. Anantyat, that word is coming again and again. Ananta Prapancha, Ananta Vaikunta. I am actually reading by splitting the Sandhi. Actually, it's a very long. It is Janma Karma Lakshana Leela Nantya Dananta Prapancha Ananta Vaikunta Gata Tattal Leela Sthana Tattal Leela Parikaranam. This one word actually. So the Jiva Goswami in the It's a long samasa, but I'm reading by splitting the word sandhi. Janma karma lakshana leela anantyat ananta prapancha ananta vaikunta gata tattal leela sthana tattal leela parikaranam vyakti prakashayor anantyat cha. What Jiva Goswami is saying that no, there is no fault. The doubt which is raised is that how can Bhagavan's birth and activities be eternal? So he is answering that this is not an issue because within the Lord there are eternally unlimited forms. Sada eva akara anantyat. Akara means form. Sada, eternally. Anantyat, eternally unlimited forms are there. And unlimited prakasha manifestation, prakasha anantyat. And janma karma lakshana leela anantyat. Unlimited pastimes of birth, activities, unlimited pastimes of birth and other activities. And there are also ananta prapancha. Prapancha refers to the material world. Ananta Vaikunta is the spiritual world. There are unlimited Vaikunta universes and there are unlimited material universes. So Krishna's pastimes are happening in unlimited spiritual universes and Ananta Prapancha in unlimited material universes also Krishna's pastimes are happening. And then Tattal Leela Sthana, Tattal Leela Parikarana. So there are unlimited Leela Sthanas in which Krishna's Leelas take place. And there are unlimited associates of Krishna. Parikara means associates. There are unlimited associates of Krishna to take part in this unlimited pastimes. Leela Parikarana. So Vyakti Prakashayor Anantyacha. So both in the unlimited material worlds and in the unlimited Vaikuntas. And then he says that Yata Evam Satyorapi Tattad Akara Prakashagatayos Tad Aramba Samaptyor Ekatra Eva Te Janma Karmanor Amsha Yavat Samapyante Na Samapyante Va Tavadyeva Anyatra Api Arabdha Bhavati Ityevam Shri Bhagavati Vicheda Abhavan Nitye Eva Tatra Te Janma Karmani Vartate. What is the meaning here? Because there are unlimited Vaikuntas, unlimited forms of the Lord, unlimited associates are there. This being the case, the beginning and end parts of the birth and actions of one particular form may or may not have ended in one place, in a particular prakasha, while the same parts of those births and actions are just beginning in other places, in other prakasha manifestations. So, Krishna's pastime in one place, it may be going on. One place Krishna is killing Potana, another universe Krishna is killing Shakatasura, another universe he is killing Trinavarta, another universe he is just taking birth, another universe he is killing Kamsa. In that sense, in one place the Krishna's pastimes may have ended or may not have ended, but the same actions are beginning in other places, in other Prakasha manifestations. So because Bhagavan's birth and actions never cease beginning and ending, they exist in him eternally. So Vicheda Abhavan Nitye Eva Tatrate Janma Karmani Vartate. So he is saying that how Krishna's pastimes and are actually eternal because there are unlimited forms are there, unlimited. Suppose unlimited forms may be there. For any pastime, form is required, and then Leela Sthana is required, and then the other associates to participate in the Leela. These three are required. So Krishna has unlimited forms, and then unlimited Leela Sthanas, unlimited Vaikunthas, unlimited material universes. And there are unlimited associates also to take part in those pastimes. Suppose if one of them is not unlimited, then there can be a problem. Suppose unlimited forms are there, but then Leela Sthanas are not unlimited. Then how in the same place you keep performing pastime? Are the other associates to take part in those Leelas if they are not unlimited? Then you may not be able to perform unlimited pastimes. Or unlimited Leela Sthanas are there, unlimited associates are there, but then there is only one form. Then also Krishna may not be able to perform these pastimes eternally. But Krishna has unlimited forms, unlimited Prakasha manifestations, unlimited devotees to take part, unlimited Leela Sthanas are there. So therefore, Bhagavan's birth and actions never cease, beginning and ending. They exist in him eternally. And then
Prabhuji, this is like that Krishna Swarupa, that 16,100 forms he had with the Dwaraka queens together, which Narada seen. So these avatars also, it's like that simultaneously it's happening, or sequentially.
Different universes. Different universes it is happening.
Different universes, yes.
And that 16,000 Narada seeing the 16,000 going to 16,000 palaces of Krishna, that is also quoted in the next paragraph. Tatra te kvachit kinchid vilakshanattvena arabhyete te kvachid aikarupyena cha iti jneyam visheshana bedat visheshana aikyacha. Some places Krishna may perform the same pastime in a slightly different way. Vilakshanattvena arabhyete. Like sometimes Krishna goes to Mathura from Vrindavan on Akrura's chariot. But in some other universe, Krishna goes to Mathura by riding on Kaliya, like that it is described. Sometimes same pastime going from Vrindavan to Mathura is enacted by Krishna in a different way. Vilakshanattvena arabhyate. Sometimes Krishna may perform the pastimes identically, kvachit aikarupyena. So, eka eva akarah prakasha bhedena prutak kriyaspadam bhavati iti chitrambateida rekena vapusha 10.69.2 ityadau pratipaditam. So this has been, one form can perform different actions. Eka eva akara. One form can perform by the prakasha beda, by different prakasha manifestation. Pratak kriyaspadam can perform different actions. And this has been already been explained in 10.69.2 how Narada witnessed Krishna's different prakasha manifestations. Tataha kriya bedat tattat kriyatmakeshu prakasha bedeshu abhimana bedascha gamyate tata sati ekatra leela krama janita rasodbodascha jayate. So here one may ask another question. So the Lord's actions in the different universes are different from each other because they are separated by time and space. Because they are separated by time and space. So why then should these actions be counted as one? So here, yeah, the point is, I'll first read the translation. Because of the differences in their activities, there can also be a difference in the sense of identity of the different Prakasha manifestations that perform them. This being the case, a different sense of aesthetic relish is awakened in each Prakasha as a result of the particular sequence of pastimes in a different places. So we see that the last line, Tata Sati Ekatra Leela Krama Janita Rasa Udbodascha Jayate. So Krishna, by his different Prakasha manifestations, he performs different activities. And through those different activities, different types of rasas are relished by the devotees at different times. In some palace, Narada Muni saw that Krishna is actually playing with his child. So there is some kind of a with the Vatsalya rasa. Actually, Vatsalya rasa, the devotees are experiencing particular rasa. Another palace, Narada Muni saw that Krishna is procreating child in some queen. So there's a Madhuri rasa is experienced by the devotees there. In that way, by the different activities which Krishna performs in different Prakasha manifestations, there is a different kind of rasa experienced by the devotees there. So this, how Krishna's pastimes are eternal, this can be understood with the simple example of a sun actually. So we discuss this example sun. The sun appears to rise at a particular time and appears to set at a particular time. But actually, although sun may have set in a particular time, but the sun is present in some other part of the universe, it is completely visible. It has just disappeared from our vision, but actually sun is eternal. It is present in some other part of the universe. It is always rising somewhere, setting somewhere, or it is always at, say, noon time somewhere. So it is always there and somewhere on the planet. If this is possible for the material heavenly body like the sun, then it is certainly possible for the transcendental Bhagavan, for whom nothing is impossible. So therefore, that Krishna's birth and activities are eternal. Now another objection is raised by Jiva Goswami. So Nanu, whenever the word Nanu comes, there's some objection is raised. Nanu katam te eva janma karmani vartete ityuktam prutak arabdatvad anye evate. Why was it said that these births and actions are one? Since they begin in different times and in different places, shouldn't they be counted as different? This is the second objection. So the Lord's actions in different universes are different from each other, being separated by time and space. So then why should these actions be counted as one? Since they are different, it would be incorrect to say that his pastimes of birth is eternal. Because Krishna's pastime of birth in one universe, Krishna's pastime of birth in another universe, they are all separated by time and space. So why should we count all the pastimes of Krishna's birth as one? It would be more accurate to say that he keeps repeating his pastime of birth eternally. Like that, one may pose an argument. These are all different actions of Krishna's birth. So how can you say that all the actions of Krishna's birth are one action only? How can you say all the actions of Krishna's, say, killing Putana or Shakatasura, they are one action only? So Jiva Goswami gives an answer. Uchyate kala bedena uditanam api samana rupanam kriyanam ekatvam. Kalabedena uditanam api. The actions performed in different time frames, they are considered as one action if they have the same form. Samana rupanam kriyanam ekatvam. If they have the same form, they should be considered as one action. And then he gives a reasoning. Yata Shankara Sharirake. He is quoting Shankaracharya's Shariraka Bhashya, the commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Dvir go shabdo ayam uchcharitah natu dvau go shabda viti. Tataiva dvihi pakah कृतो अनेन न तु द्विधा पाकः कृतो अनेन इति प्रतीत्या भविष्यति इति. If the word cow is uttered twice, cow, cow, the understanding is that the same word has been uttered twice, not that two different words have been uttered. Similarly, when we say Dvida pakaha means twice cooked. Twice cooked, by that we mean the same item has been cooked twice, not that two different things have been cooked. So therefore, tataha janma karmanorapi nityata yukta eva. Ata eva agamadau api bhutapurva lila upasana vidanam yuktam. So therefore, Krishna's birth and activities are eternal only. Krishna's birth and activities are eternal only. Like suppose when we say that, suppose when a devotee is chanting the mantra and the beats. So when you are chanting, say Hare Krishna mantra, so we are just, you may be chanting 16 rounds. But we refer to that by only by one action. He is chanting. That's what we say. We don't count as he performed 16,000 say 16 into 108. That many actions he performed. Like that we don't say. We just say when he chants, suppose a devotee is chanting 16 rounds, we just say that he is chanting. When he's chanting the same mantra 108 times and then 16 rounds, that we refer to that by only one action. He is chanting. If the chanter is the same person, then the activity is also the same, no matter where he chants. So similarly, the Lord's pastimes, although appearing at different places, but they are one, especially when seen from his point of view. So therefore, Krishna's birth and activities are eternal. So they are enacted continuously without any break or interruption. It is only from our point of view, his pastimes appear to begin and appear to end. But beyond our temporary vision, his pastimes are actually eternal. So therefore, the Agamas say, Atayeva Agamadau api Bhuta Purva Leela Upasana Vidanam Yuktam. Therefore, the Agamas, they tell one to worship the Lord's previous pastimes. If the Lord's pastimes are not eternal, then the Agamas instruction to meditate on the Lord's pastimes would be inappropriate. So because the Lord's pastimes, Bhagavan's pastimes are eternal, therefore the instruction of the Agamas to meditate on the Bhagavan's pastimes is appropriate, yuktam. It's appropriate. So
Please repeat this, Prabhu.
So the sense, because the Lord's pastimes are eternal, therefore the instruction of the Agamas to meditate on the Bhagavan's pastimes, this instruction is appropriate. Otherwise, if the pastimes of the Bhagavan are not eternal, then meditating on some action which was performed in the past, then such an injunction would not give fruit, actually, would not be appropriate, because those actions, it becomes a material action, because anything material is actually temporary, it is not eternal. To meditate on the any temporary action and material action, why would it actually benefit a person? But the Agama has given instruction to meditate on the Lord's pastimes. So only because it is eternal, therefore the injunctions of the Agamas to meditate on the Lord's pastimes is appropriate. If it were not eternal, then meditating on the past actions which are not eternal, that means the material actions, that would not be appropriate. It would not elevate a person to the spiritual platform. You got it?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah.
And then further he says that Tatacha Vuktam Madhva Bhashye. He is quoting the Madhvacharya's commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Paramatma Sambandhitvena Nityatvat Trivikramatvadishu Api Upasamharyatvam Yujyate iti. So in the Madhvacharya, in his commentary on Vedanta Sutra, he says that Paramatma Sambandhitvena Nityatvat, because these activities such as Trivikrama Adishu, the taking of the 3 steps by Trivikrama, these activities are Paramatma Sambandhitvena, they are related to Paramatma, Nityatvat, they are eternal. And therefore, Upasamharyatvam Yujyate. Upasamharyatvam means what? They are worshipable. Because they are eternal, therefore they are worshipable. If they are not eternal, then such actions, they don't deserve the status of being worshipped by others. Yeah, current times the people worship the actions. 2011, India won the World Cup. Who won the man of the match? Somebody scored a century. So they keep worshipping the actions of some cricketer or somebody performed something. But actually, it doesn't deserve the status of being worshipable. We can respect them for individuals' talent. That respect, culture of respect should be there. But they don't deserve the status of being worshipped because they are material actions. But Madhvacharya also says that because the actions of, say, Trivikrama taking 3 steps, they are all related to Paramatma and they are eternal. Therefore, Upasamharyatvam, they deserve to be worshipped. So, Anumatam Chaitat Shrutya Yad Adbhutam Bhavachya Bhavishyachya It Anaya Eva. What is the meaning? This is also approved in the Vedas, Shruti. He is quoting a Shruti Vakya, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Yad Bhutam Bhavachya Bhavishyachya. The present and the future exist in him. So in the Madhvacharya's commentary, Upasamharyatvam, the word is used. What is the meaning of that? Upasamharyatvam Upasanayam Upadeyatvam Ityartaha. Upasamharyatva means suitable to be employed in the context of worship. The Bhagavan's activities deserve to be worshipped. And then further he says, Tatra tasya janmanah prakritat tasmad vilakshanatvam prakrita janmanu karanena avirbhava matratvam kvachit tad ananukaranena va ajayamana bahuda vijayate iti shrutehe. So here he says that the Lord's birth prakritat tasmad vilakshanatvam. It is different from the material birth. Prakrita tasmad vilakshanatvam. And prakrita janma anukaranena. The Lord's appearance in the world in imitation of material birth. Prakrita janma anukaranena. Anukaranena avirbhava matratvam. Kvachit tad ananukaranena. Sometimes he appears in this world by imitating the birth of an ordinary living entity. Ordinary living entity takes birth from the womb of a mother. So sometimes the Lord imitates the birth of an ordinary living entity. And tad ananukaranena. Sometimes he does not imitate. Sometimes he appears in this world in a in an unconventional way. Tad ananukaranena. And then he quotes a Mudgala Upanishad. Ajayamana bahuda vijayate. Ajayamana means the unborn absolute truth. Bahuda vijayate. He takes birth in many ways. Sometimes he appears by imitating the birth of an ordinary living entity, like appearing from a mother's womb. Sometimes he appears not imitating, in an unconventional way. So he gives two examples. One example for how he appears by imitating the human being, and another example in an unconventional way. The first example is Krishna's appearance. Devakyam Deva Rupinyam Vishnu Sarvaguhashayah Avirasid Yata Prachyam Dishinduriva Pushkalah. Sri Vishnu, who is Sarvaguhashaya, who resides in the core of every living being, appeared from Devaki. Devakyam Avirasit. Deva Rupinyam. Devaki, who is the Deva Rupinyam, the embodiment of divine qualities. Krishna appeared from Devaki. Prachyam Dishindu Riva Pushkalaha. Just as the full moon appears on the eastern horizon. Just as the full moon appears on the eastern horizon. So Krishna appearance in Devaki, from Devaki's womb, he imitated the birth of a human being. But Krishna's appearance as Narasimhadev, he appeared in an unconventional way. He appeared from the stamba. So he gives the next shloka. Satyam vidatum nijabritya bhashitam vyaptim cha bhuteshvakileshu chatmana adrishyatatyadbhutarupamudvahan stambe sabayam na mrugam na manusham. Satyam vidatum nijabritya bhashitam. To prove the veracity of the words of his servant, Prahlad Maharaj. What words? Vyaptim cha bhuteshu akileshu chatmana. That he is present in all the objects. The Bhagavan appeared from the pillar. Stambe sabayam udvahan. He appeared from the pillar of the royal court, Sabayam, in a wonderful form. Adrishyata ati adbhuta rupam. In a wonderful form, adrishyata, never before seen. Ati adbhuta, very wonderful. Na mrugam na manusham, which was neither that of a man nor of a lion. This is an sometimes Bhagavan appears not imitating the human being. That ananukaranena. And then he quotes another example how the Lord appeared as a son of Kardama Muni as Kapila Dev. Kardamam Viryamapanna 3.24.6 Ityatra Shri Kapila Deva Avatara Prasange Api Kardamasya Bhakti Samarthya Vashibhuta Ityeva Vyakyeyam. So in the appearance of Kapila Deva, it is mentioned that Kardamam Viryam Apanna. Literally, it means that Bhagavan appeared from the Virya of Kardama Muni. But the word Virya, it also has another meaning. Bhagavan appeared being controlled by the bhakti of Kardama Muni. Lord took shelter of the semen of this should be explained to mean that the Lord came under the powerful influence of Kardama's bhakti. Because the Virya can mean semen, but a Virya also has other meanings. What is the other meaning of Virya? It means influence, power, strength. So what is the strength being referred to here? It can refer to the strength of Kardama's bhakti. Being influenced, having come under the control of the strength of Kardama's bhakti, Kapila Dev appeared. In that way, it can be explained. So Virya Shabda, Anyasastu Prasiddham Putratvam api Shlishtam Bhavati Ityevam Arthaha. The word Virya also has another meaning. It has a secondary meaning. Virya can mean son, the Putra. Similarly, Virya can mean Putra also. Tata Karmano Vailakshanyam Swarupa Ananda Vilasa Matratvam. So, yeah. So Virya means strength and influence. And Virya is sometimes used as an indirect reference to a son. Because Virya is the source of the sun. So sometimes the Virya is also used to refer to a son. So if we take this meaning, Viryam Kardamam Viryam Apanna. If we take this meaning, Virya means son, it would mean that Kardama became, Kapila became Kardama's son. Viryam Apanna, that means Virya means a Putra. Viryam Apanna means he became Kardama's son. So in that way, Kardamam Viryam Apanna, you see the different meanings. First meaning is that Kardamam Viryam Apanna, it means that Lord took shelter of the semen of Kardama. But another meaning is that Virya means the strength. The strength being referred to the strength of Kardama's bhakti. So the Lord being controlled by Kardama's bhakti, Bhagavan appeared. Being controlled by Kardama's bhakti, he appeared by the force of Kardama Muni's devotional intensity. Appeared by the force of Kardama's devotional intensity, the second meaning. And Viryam can mean Putra. Then the third meaning is that Bhagavan appeared as Kardama's son. He became Kardama's son. And then Tata Karmano Vailakshanyam Swarupa Ananda Vilasa Matratvam. So what distinguishes the Lord's actions from the ordinary actions is that the Lord's actions are exclusively manifestations of his natural bliss, Swarupa Ananda. This is also explained in the Brahma Sutra. So Jiva Goswami quotes the Brahma Sutra. Tadyata Lokavattu Leela Kaivalyam. Iti Vyakyatam cha Tattvavadibihi. So Brahma Sutra states that the actions of the Lord, such as creation, are a play, like the pleasurable deeds people enact. They are the play like the pleasurable deeds people enact. In this regard, Tattvavadi refers to Madhvacharya. The Madhvacharya's philosophy is called Tattvavada. Madhvacharya writes a commentary. Loke mattasya sukad rekadeva nrityadi leela natu prayojanaapekshaya evam ishwarasya iti. So he says that the Lord creates the universe in the same way that an intoxicated man dances out of bliss and not to achieve anything. When an intoxicated person is dancing, it is not that he is dancing in order to achieve something. He is just dancing just out of bliss. Similarly, Lord performs the activities of creation just out of bliss. Just out of bliss. So this is also confirmed in the Narayana Samhita. Narayana Samhita, the same analogy comes. Srishtyadikam harirnaiva prayojanamapekshatu kurute kevalanandad yata mattasya nartanam purnanandasya tasyeha prayojanamati kutah mukta apyapta kamasyu kimutasya kilatmanah. So Narayana Samhita says that Srishtyadikam harina eva prayojanam apekshatu. Prayojana actually you should prayojanam apekshatu. Sri Hari performs such as actions such as creation without any specific purpose. He does so purely out of pleasure. Kurute kevala ananda. Just as an yata mattasya nartanam, just as an intoxicated man dances. Purnanandasya tasyeha, since he is completely blissful, prayojana mati kutah. What purpose has he to achieve from creation? Because he is completely blissful. So mukta api apta kamasyu kimutasya akilatmanah. If even liberated beings delight in the self alone, how much more must this be for the Bhagavan, who is the supreme self of all? Even the liberated persons, they just take pleasure in the Atma itself. They are Atma Rama. Then how much more the Supreme Lord, who is the Akilatmana, who is Apta Kama, who is Akilatmana, who is the Supreme Self of all, why would he perform an action like creation in order to get bliss or in order to achieve some purpose? The Lord performs creation just out of bliss, like an intoxicated person dances out of bliss. So, and then further he says, maybe we'll take this paragraph. So then when we hear this analogy, the Lord is compared to just like an intoxicated person dances. One second. So here in this verse, the Bhagavan is compared to the intoxicated person. How the intoxicated person dances without any purpose, just out of bliss. So one may extend the analogy by saying, in the case of intoxicated person, in the intoxicated person, in the intoxicated state, he is not aware of anything. He is not aware of what is happening around him. But in the case of Bhagavan, he is not like that. He is actually omniscient. So therefore, one should not extend the analogy. Just like intoxicated, Bhagavan is compared to an intoxicated person only for that part of the analogy. Just like an intoxicated person dances without any purpose, similarly, Bhagavan creates just as a matter of play. But don't extend the analogy by saying that just like an intoxicated person is not aware, Bhagavan is also not aware. So that is explained in the next. Nachon उन्मत्त दृष्टान्तेन असर्वज्ञत्वं प्रसञ्जयितव्यम्. So by the example of a dancing madman, one should not think that the Lord is something other than omniscient. He's
Prabhuji,
not.
your voice is getting disconnected.
Acha?
Your voice is not very steady.
From the beginning or
intermittent disturbance is there. Breaking is there. After that, Lord is Apta Kama. That entire thing is not audible.
Okay, I'll switch off the video. So what I mentioned was that if the Bhagavan is compared to the intoxicated person, one may extend the analogy by saying that just like an intoxicated person is not aware, so Bhagavan is also not aware. He is not Sarvagya. But this part of the extension of the analogy is wrong. So that is what Jiva Goswami says. Nacho unmatta drishtantena asarvagyatvam prasanjayitavyam. By the example of a dancing man, one should not think that the Lord is something other than Sarvagya. One should not think that the Lord is Asarvagya. So the example is relevant in this sense alone. Swarupa Anandod Rekena Anandod Rekena Swaprayojana Anusandayaiva Lilayate Ityetad Amshenaiva Swikarat. The example is relevant in this sense alone, that owing to his excessive internal bliss, he performs the pastimes without having any particular purpose to accomplish. Without having any particular purpose to accomplish. And then he says, Uchvasa Prashvasa Drishtantepi Sushuptyadau Tat Doshapatat. If we try to circumvent the problem with this example, we posit instead the example of inhaling and exhaling. The same defect still presents itself in the case of breathing during deep sleep. So what he tries to say here is that so some people say that some scholars they compare Bhagavan's actions to breathing. In the case of breathing occurs naturally for a person. When we breathe, we perform breathing naturally without any conscious effort, without any motive. And even during deep sleep, we perform breathing. Without any motive, without any prayojana, we keep breathing. Some people, they compare Bhagavan's actions to breathing, which is performed without any conscious effort, without any prayojana. But just like that, with the example of the drunkard, Bhagavan being compared to the drunkard, this analogy, Bhagavan's actions being compared to breathing, this analogy is also limited. Because the omniscient Lord, Bhagavan is omniscient, he is never ignorant or unconscious like a sleeping man. In the case of a sleeping man, during the state of sleep, he is breathing. But at that time, he is not conscious. He is actually, during the state of deep sleep, during sleep, he is not conscious. But in the case of Bhagavan, he is always Sarvagya. In deep sleep, one breathes, but even though unconscious. But the Lord, however, is omniscient and never unaware of his actions. He is always aware of his actions, but he performs the actions out of his own Swarupananda and internal bliss and without any particular purpose. That is what is explained in this paragraph. Uchvasa prashvasa drishtantepi sushuptyadau taddosha patat tasmad swarupa ananda swabhavikyena tallila shrutischa devasyaiva swabhavoyam aptakamasya kaspruha. So if we try to circumvent the problem with this example, we posit instead the example of the inhaling and exhaling. The same defect still presents itself in the case of breathing during deep sleep. What is the same defect? What is the defect when Bhagavan is being compared to the intoxicated man? The defect is that the intoxicated man is not omniscient, he is not aware. But Bhagavan is always omniscient. So in order to, if we compare Bhagavan's actions to breathing, but again the same defect happens because during breathing, during sleep, during deep sleep, a person is ignorant, he is not conscious, but Bhagavan is always conscious, he is always omniscient. Therefore, the limitations of these examples aside, the real point to be noted is that Bhagavan's pastimes are characterized exclusively as natural and spontaneous manifestations of the bliss inherent in his essential nature. Therefore, the Shruti, Mandukya Karika, Jiva Goswami quotes, Mandukya Karika states that this act of creation is the nature of the Lord. Devasya eva swabhavo ayam. What yearning can there be in one whose desires are naturally and completely fulfilled? Apta kamasya kaspurha. Bhagavan is apta kama, one whose desires are naturally and completely fulfilled. So therefore, what yearning can there be in him? Therefore, Bhagavan performs creation just out of pleasure, without any particular purpose, as a matter of play. So, and then I think the next part will take up actually Ata Prakrita Srishthyadigatasya. We will take it next time from that point onwards. So today what we discussed in summary, that Jiva Goswami is raising the doubt, how can the Bhagavan's birth and actions be eternal? Because action means it must have a beginning and an end. Then he answered by saying that Bhagavan has unlimited forms, unlimited Prakasha manifestations. He has unlimited Leela Sthanams in the material world and the spiritual world. He has unlimited devotees to participate in those pastimes. So therefore, his pastimes are eternal. Bhagavan, just like a sun is always present. Similarly, Bhagavan's birth and activities are eternal. So then the next question was that, next point was that Bhagavan's pastime, sometimes he performs the same pastime differently in different places. Sometimes he performs in exactly in the same way. For example, the same Prakasha manifestation, Krishna performed different actions in different palaces, which Narada Muni saw. And when he performs the different actions, devotees experience different types of rasa in those pastimes. And then further doubt is raised. Why should we count the birth of Krishna performing in different places and the actions of Krishna performing different places? Why should they count them as one? they should be counted as different actions. They should be counted as different action because they are performed at different times in different places. Shouldn't they be counted as different? And then for that, he gave the reasoning that when we chant cow, cow, it's not that we are chanting it's not that two different words have been spoken. Same word cow has been spoken. When a person is chanting the mantra 16 rounds, then we don't say that we refer to that as only one action. He is chanting. We don't refer to that as different actions. Similarly, when Bhagavan is performing, it is proper to say that Bhagavan's birth and actions are eternal, and therefore the Agamas also give an injunction to meditate on the Lord's pastimes, Lord's actions. If they are not eternal, that means they are temporary, then the Agamas injunctions to meditate on the Lord's pastimes would not be appropriate. And then we also referred to Madhvacharya's commentary, how the Madhvacharya also says that Bhagavan's actions are eternal. And then we said that in the case of Bhagavan's birth, sometimes he imitates the birth of a human being, sometimes he does not imitate the birth of the human being. And we gave the example of Krishna's appearance and the Narasimhadev's appearance. And then we also quoted another third example, Kapila Dev's appearance. And then for that, the word Viryam, we saw different meanings. And then we have discussed that in the case of the what the distinguishing factor between the Lord's actions and the ordinary actions is that the Lord's actions are exclusively manifestations of his natural bliss. He performs out of his natural bliss without any purpose, just like an intoxicated man dances. Then we discussed this analogy, also referred from Narayana Samhita. But if you extend the analogy, there is a problem with the analogy. Bhagavan is always omniscient, but the intoxicated person is not omniscient. Then if we want to refer to by some other analogy, Bhagavan's actions, if we are comparing to the breathing, which is performed without any purpose, in that case also, the same problem will come in the extension of the analogy, because when a person is sleeping, a person is not conscious, but in the case of the Bhagavan, he is always conscious. So therefore, the Shrutis, Mandukya Karika says that the act of creation, etc., is the nature of the Lord, and Bhagavan is Apta Kama. What yearning can there be in the Bhagavan whose desires are naturally and completely fulfilled? Then we'll decide, we'll discuss further points next time. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, bro.
Hare.
Very nice class. With the less persons also, you have not left anything. Rather, you are going regularly as if it's a class is full. It's something very amazing.
You are all
Thank you.
taking your time to coming, tolerating my boring class.
Hold on, it's not
Little
boring.
technical
Yeah,
subject. There's no more philosophy, but the Siddhantas, when we hear, becomes our faith becomes strong.
no, the philosophy, though it is very technical, you make it very simple so that we can understand easily. That's a very, of course, the retaining is not there. You have to study again and again. Otherwise, it goes off very fast. As you understand, it goes off also very fast.
So tomorrow is your flight back?
Yes, brother.